Good evening, ladies and gentlemen. In discussing the literary method of Ayn Rand, I shall begin with a quotation from Miss Rand herself. Quote, I decided to be a writer at the age of 9. It was a specific, conscious decision. I remember the day and the hour. I did not start by trying to describe the folks next door, but by inventing people who did things the folks next door would never do. I could summon no interest or enthusiasm for people as they are, when I had in my mind a blinding picture of people as they could be. I decided to become a writer, not in order to save the world, nor to serve my fellow men, but for the simple, personal, selfish, egoistical happiness of creating the kind of men and events I could like, respect, and admire. I can bear to look around me levelly. I cannot bear to look down. I wanted to look up. This attitude has never changed, but I went for years thinking that it was a strictly personal attitude toward fiction writing, never to be discussed and of no interest to anyone but me. Later I discovered I had accepted as the rule of my life work a principle stated by Aristotle. Aristotle said that fiction is of greater philosophical importance than history, because history represents things only as they are, while fiction represents them as they might be and ought to be. If you wish a key to the literary method of my novels, this is it. Unquote. The projection of things as they might be and ought to be names the essence of Ayn Rand's concept of literature. In the wave of naturalism that has engulfed the literature of the 20th century, her novels are an outstanding exception. They are at once a continuation of the Romantic tradition and a significant departure from the mainstream of that tradition. She is a romantic realist. Romantic because her work is concerned with values, with the essential, the abstract, the universal in human life, and with the projection of man as a heroic being. Realist because the values she selects pertain to this earth and to man's actual nature, and because the issues with which she deals are the crucial and fundamental ones of our age. Her novels do not represent a flight into mystical fantasy or the historical past, or into concerns that have little if any bearing on man's actual existence. Her heroes are not knights, gladiators, or adventurers in some impossible kingdom, but engineers, scientists, industrialists, men who belong on Earth, men who function in modern society. As a philosopher, she has brought ethics into the context of reason, reality, and man's life on Earth. As a novelist, she has brought the dramatic, the exciting, the heroic, the stylized into the same context. Just as in philosophy, she rejects every version of the mystic soul-body dichotomy, theory versus practice, thought versus action, morality versus happiness. So in literature, she rejects the expression of this same dichotomy, the belief that a profound novel cannot be entertaining, and that an entertaining novel cannot be profound, that a serious philosophical novel cannot have a dramatic plot, and that a dramatic plot novel cannot possibly be serious or philosophical. Atlas Shrugged, the greatest of her novels, is an action story on a grand scale, but it is a consciously philosophical action story, just as its heroes are consciously philosophical men of action. To those who subscribe to the soul-body dichotomy in literature, Atlas Shrugged is a mystifying anomaly that defies classification by conventional standards. It moves effortlessly and ingeniously from economics to epistemology to morality to metaphysics to psychology to the theory of sex on the one hand, and on the other it has a chapter that ends with the heroine hurtling toward the earth in an aeroplane with a dead motor. It has a playboy crusader who blows up a multi-billion-dollar industry, a philosopher-turned-pirate who attacks government relief ships, and a climax that involves the rescue of the hero from a torture chamber. Notwithstanding the austere solemnity of its abstract theme, her novel, as a work of art, projects the laughing, extravagantly imaginative virtuosity of a mind who has never heard that one is not supposed to combine such elements as these in a single book. To those who believe that one is not supposed to, Ayn Rand would answer, check your premises. Ayn Rand has written 4 novels: We the Living, Anthem, The Fountainhead, Atlas Shrugged, and each of them has a major philosophical theme. Yet they are not propaganda novels. The primary purpose for which these books were written was not the philosophical conversion of their readers. The primary purpose was to project and make real the characters who are the book's heroes. This is the motive that unites the artist and the moralist. The desire to project the ideal man led to the writing of novels. The necessity of defining the premises that make an ideal man possible led to the formulating of the philosophical content of those novels. By its nature, every work of art projects implicitly or explicitly a metaphysics, that is, a fundamental view of man and of man's relation to existence. To be exact, it projects the emotional corollary of a metaphysics, a sense of life. It can project a tragic sense of life, or a heroic sense of life, or a benevolent sense of life, etc., according to the artist's basic psychological state and conscious or subconscious view of reality. But some sense of life, some estimate of existence and of man's place in it, is inescapably implicit in an artwork by the nature of the creative process. As illustration of this principle, contrast the heroic sense of life projected in the novels of the great Romanticist Victor Hugo with the sordid and doomed sense of life conveyed in the novels of the arch-naturalist Émile Zola. Consider the literary means by which each writer's sense of life is projected. Where Hugo builds purposeful plot, Zola unravels calamitous contingency. Where Hugo dramatizes the conflict of crucial values, Zola describes the horror of torpid depravity. Where Hugo delineates characters in terms of their fundamental motivations, Zola lingers on the surface of accidental journalistic minutiae. Where Hugo presents life as exciting and man as a giant, Zola presents life as futility and man as a pygmy. Where Hugo sees literature as artistic creation, Zola sees literature as history, Police Gazette history. For good or evil, intentionally or otherwise, every work of art is a psychological confession. Through that which he chooses to present, an artist declares to the world, "This is what I think is important for me to project and for others to perceive. This is the world as I see it. This is the essence of things. This is what matters." If a writer chooses to present as the chief object of his focus intelligence, ability, integrity, and the pursuit and achievement of great and demanding values, he reveals one kind of soul and view of life. If another writer chooses to present as his chief object of focus mediocrity, helplessness, depravity, suffering, and defeat, he reveals a different kind of soul and view of life. In either case, what has been projected is a metaphysical estimate of man's existence, even if the author knows that estimate only in the form of an emotion, of that which feels right to him in the creative process. Emotions and feelings are not causeless. The most intensely anti-romantic slice-of-life writer cannot escape the fact that art deals with values, and the artist's choice is only what kind of values will he present.